To those who seek to control you, silence you, and break you, I have bad news for them. No matter how hard they try, they will fail, because they cannot kill what was sent by forces beyond their reach, and that force is you. Read that again. Let it sink in. You, the chosen ones, the warriors they fear, the ones who were never meant to be controlled, you have already won. The second you woke up, their power over you shattered. No matter what they do, no matter how much they plot, they can't stop you. Because you weren't created by them, and you damn sure won't be destroyed by them. They may control the banks, the corporations, the governments, and the institutions, but they do not control you. They have tried to erase people like you from history, and yet here you are. They have burned books, silenced voices, and waged wars, and yet here you stand. They cannot imprison something that was never meant to bow. They cannot break something that was built to fight. And to you, yes, you, the chosen one reading this is your confirmation. You were never crazy. You were never weak. You were never alone. Your presence here means you feel it. The pull, the fire, the truth that's been buried under years of lies. This is not just another video. This is a warning to those who have tried to keep you down, and a wake-up call for the ones ready to rise. If you're done playing their game, if you're ready to step into what you were born to be, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop 777 in the comments to show them you're still here, unbroken, unstoppable. And now, let's get into it step by step. But listen to me. If you are a true chosen one, you won't just watch this, you'll feel it. The pull, the fire, the knowing. And if you feel it, then you already know you need to stay till the end. Let's begin. So here's what really terrifies them. You don't fear them. You don't fear their lies, their tactics, or their desperate attempts to suppress you. You see through the illusion. You see through their fake wars, their controlled opposition, their psychological games. They thought they could keep you asleep forever. They thought they could keep you distracted with false leaders, poisoned food, and mind-numbing entertainment. They failed. You are a glitch in their perfect system, a virus in their program, a storm in their sky, and they know this. That's why they've been after you since birth. Not with weapons. No, they're too smart for that. Instead, they used labels. Too rebellious, too sensitive, too difficult to manage. They sent teachers, doctors, politicians, and the media to beat you into submission. They tried to drown you in debt, addiction, fear, and chaos. But they forgot something. They can't stop a force that was never theirs to control, and that force is you. Listen to me. The war against you started before you could even speak. They knew who you were before you did. That's why your life has been harder than most. That's why you've been misunderstood, rejected, and targeted. That's why nothing has ever felt normal, because you were never meant to be normal. You are not here to follow the rules. You are not here to obey. You are here to lead, to break, to rebuild. You are the reckoning. Every time you wake up, every time you refuse to follow the script, every time you challenge the system, you set off alarms in places you cannot even see. They fear what happens when too many of us wake up. They fear what happens when we remember who we are. Because the moment we stop fighting each other, the moment we stop playing their game, they lose everything. That's why they keep you distracted. That's why they flood the world with nonsense. They need you weak. They need you doubting yourself. They need you wasting your energy on things that don't matter. Because the second you step into your true power, their entire system collapses. So now, the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep doubting yourself? Are you going to keep following their script? Or are you going to rise? The time for waiting is over. The war is here, the system is crumbling, and you are the storm that will finish the job. If you feel this message, if something inside you knows you were never meant to follow, then do what they don't want you to do. Wake up more people. Simply press the like button under this video. Subscribe. This will help spread this video to more chosen ones. The more of us that rise, the faster their reign ends. This is not a game. This is a calling. And if you're hearing this message, then you already know you were born for this. Number 1. They built their empire on lies, but you were born to burn it down. The greatest mistake they ever made was letting you survive, because now you are not just awake, you are unstoppable. They thought they could erase you before you even realized who you were. They thought if they buried you deep enough in distractions, doubt and fear, you would never find the blueprint hidden within you, the one that doesn't just challenge their world, but destroys it. They were wrong. From the moment you took your first breath, you carried something dangerous, something they couldn't control. It wasn't just talent, it wasn't just intelligence, it was something much worse in their eyes. Awareness, the ability to see what others accept without question, to question what was never meant to be questioned, to know deep down that the way things are isn't the way they're supposed to be. And that makes you a threat, because their empire, this illusion they've built, only stands as long as people believe in it. The moment someone like you sees through it, the cracks begin to show. And the moment you act on what you know, the whole thing starts to collapse. This is why they've been after you since birth. This is why life has felt like a battlefield before you even knew what war you were fighting. Every system, every rule, every expectation placed on you was never about guiding you. It was about containing you. Because the moment you stop bending to their script, you start rewriting it. But let's make one thing clear. This isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. This isn't about breaking things just to break them. No, this is something far greater. This is about creation. Because you don't just destroy what's broken, you build what's real. You were wired differently. You think differently. You see solutions before others even recognize the problem. Your mind doesn't follow the programmed paths laid out for the masses. It carves new ones, and that is why they fear you. They thrive on control, on keeping people small, scared, obedient, on making sure no one dares to question, let alone challenge, the invisible chains that keep this world running in their favor. But you were born to tear those chains apart, not with mindless chaos, not with empty rage, but with vision, with precision, with the kind of power that doesn't just remove what's corrupt, but replaces it with something greater. And they know this. That's why they attack you differently. They don't just put up barriers in your path. They try to break you from the inside out. They whisper lies in your mind before you even understand who you are. You're too different. You're too much. You'll never fit in. No one will ever understand you. These aren't just words. These are weapons, designed to make you doubt the very thing that makes you powerful. Designed to make you abandon your own blueprint before you ever get the chance to use it. Because they know the truth. The moment you fully embrace who you are, the moment you stop apologizing, stop doubting, stop hesitating, their world ends. And here's the twist. Your blueprint, the one they've been trying to erase, it's not just a part of you. It is you. It's written into your DNA. It's woven into your soul. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be erased. No matter how much they try to bury it, it will always be there, waiting for you to see it. waiting for you to unleash it, waiting for you to become exactly what you were always meant to be. And when that happens, the world they've built will never look the same again. Number 2, your existence alone shatters their illusions, and that's why they fear you. The greatest power isn't in the words you speak or the actions you take. It's in the silent, undeniable force of who you are, and that alone is enough to bring their entire world crashing down. You don't have to fight. You don't have to argue. You don't have to demand attention. Your presence alone is a weapon. When you enter a room, the air changes. People shift uncomfortably. They avert their eyes. They struggle to hold their composure. It's not because you've done anything. It's because something inside them senses the truth. You see beyond the surface. You see them, not the version they pretend to be, not the persona they carefully craft, but the raw, unfiltered reality of who they are underneath it all. And most people cannot handle that. You don't just listen to words, you hear what's behind them. You don't just meet people's eyes, you look through them. You don't just exist, you expose. And in a world built on deception, facades and illusions, that makes you the most dangerous person in the room. People don't fear you because of what you do. They fear you because of what you force them to see. You are a mirror, a living, breathing reflection of the truths they have spent their entire lives running from. And when faced with the choice of confronting their shadows or attacking the one who exposed them, most people will choose the latter. This is why some people have hated you without reason, why they have misunderstood you, rejected you, or tried to break you. They don't even know why. All they know is that being around you forces them to confront something they would rather keep buried. You threaten their comfort, their carefully curated illusions. It's not that you intend to expose them. It's simply what happens when you exist in your truth. And the more unapologetic you become, the more their fragile realities begin to crumble. But it's not just individuals who fear this. Entire systems of power have worked tirelessly to keep you small. They saw your kind coming long before you were even born. They knew that if people like you were left unchecked, their empire built on deception and obedience would not survive. So they programmed society to suppress you. They told you that you were too much, that you think too deeply, that you're too intense, that you need to just go along with things. They tried to drown your fire before it could burn down their lies. They rely on people staying blind, blind to their own power, blind to their own potential, blind to the fact that they are living in a cage that was built around them before they even had the chance to question it. But you don't just see the cage, you force others to see it too. That's why your presence is disruptive. That's why, without even trying, you shake people to their core. You make them question. And the moment they start to question, the chains that have bound them for so long begin to weaken. This is why they distract you, drain you, and make you doubt yourself. Because they know what happens if you fully step into what you are. They know that once you embrace your power, once you realize that you don't have to do anything to make their world fall apart, just be, then it's over for them, because their power is not real. It is an illusion, and all it takes is one beam of light to expose the darkness they have thrived in for centuries. You are that light. You are the fire they have spent their lives trying to extinguish. That's why they call you intimidating, why they try to silence you, why they try to make you feel small. Not because you're actually a threat to them physically, but because you threaten the lies they live by. The entire world they have built is a house of cards, and you are the storm that makes it all collapse. But here's the truth. Your power isn't something you have to find. It's not something you have to earn. It's already there. It always has been. And the only thing they fear more than your presence is the day you stop holding it back. Because when you stop dimming your light, when you stop shrinking yourself, when you stop apologizing for the way your very existence exposes the illusions they've built their world on, then their reign is over. That's why they fear you. That's why they fought so hard to suppress you. But what they don't realize is that suppression only makes the fire stronger. The more they push you down, the more pressure they build. And when you finally unleash everything they tried to take from you, it won't just be a spark. It will be a wildfire. And no system, no lie, no illusion will survive it. Number 3. They tried to break you by calling you weak, but your sensitivity is the weapon that will end them. They called it a flaw, a burden, a weakness. They wanted you to believe that feeling deeply made you fragile. But the truth? Your sensitivity is the one thing they will never be able to control, and that makes you more powerful than they will ever be. From the moment you were born, they saw it in you. That depth, that intensity, the way you felt things stronger than most, the way you picked up on what wasn't being said. And instead of teaching you to harness it, they tried to bury it. They slapped labels on you: too sensitive, too dramatic, too emotional, too much. Not because they believed those words, but because they feared what would happen if you ever realized the truth. Your sensitivity was never the problem. Their world was. This system wasn't designed for people like you. It was built to harden people, to strip them of their ability to feel, to make them accept cruelty, injustice, and lies as just the way things are. But you couldn't be hardened. You refused to go numb. No matter how much they tried to make you believe that your feelings were a burden, you never lost your ability to see, to feel, to know. And that made you dangerous. Because sensitivity is not just about emotions. It's about perception. It's about picking up on what others miss. The tension in a room, the lie hidden behind a smile, the fear behind someone's anger. You have a built-in radar for truth, a natural ability to sense what is real and what is fake. And in a world built on deception, that makes you a serious threat. They tried to convince you that your depth was a weakness, that you needed to toughen up, grow thicker skin, or stop being so sensitive. But what they really wanted was for you to stop noticing, to stop questioning, to stop feeling the cracks in their system. Because the moment you fully accept your sensitivity for what it truly is, an unstoppable force, their illusion collapses. That's why they attacked you differently. They didn't just come at you with force, they came at you with confusion. They tried to make you doubt yourself, second-guess your instincts, apologize for your intensity. They flooded your life with distractions, overwhelm, and chaos, hoping it would drown out the truth that was always whispering inside you. Your feelings were never the enemy. They were the key. Sensitivity isn't fragility. It's power. It's the ability to connect, to understand, to transform. While others go through life on autopilot, numb and detached, you experience it fully, with an intensity they can't even comprehend. And that scares them to death. Because sensitivity doesn't just mean you feel your own pain, it means you feel the collective pain. You sense the suffering they want to ignore. You recognize the injustices they try to normalize. You see through the lies they tell themselves. You see the humanity they've spent generations trying to erase. That's why they wanted to break you. That's why they needed you to believe that being numb was the only way to survive. Because if you ever realize the full extent of your power, if you ever embrace the truth of what you are, you wouldn't just change yourself, You would change everything. And here's what they didn't expect. The more they tried to silence your heart, the stronger it grew. The more they tried to bury your sensitivity, the deeper it rooted itself inside you. Every attempt to break you only refined you. Every lie they told you only pushed you closer to the truth. Every attempt to weaken you only made you unstoppable. Your sensitivity is not your weakness. It is your weapon. And now they know it's only a matter of time before you start using it. Number 4. You were born with the codes that will end their control, and they've been trying to stop you since day one. They built this world like a prison, carefully designing every system to keep people blind, obedient, and trapped. But they made one fatal mistake. They let you exist. And you? You were born holding the key that unlocks everything they fought to protect. From the very beginning, you've known something was off. While others moved through life without question, you felt the weight of something unseen. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't imagination. It was awareness. A deep, undeniable knowing that the world as it stands is nothing but a rigged game designed to keep people asleep. And here's what they never want you to figure out. You were born with the ability to wake them up. Your mind has never worked like everyone else's. Where others see random events, you see patterns. Where others accept the rules as they are, you instinctively question them. While they focus on the distractions thrown at them, your mind drifts beyond the noise, piecing together truths that were meant to stay buried. This isn't just intelligence. This is something far more dangerous. This is perception at a level that threatens everything they have built. You weren't made to fit into their system. You were made to dismantle it. They designed their world to keep people running in circles, chasing money, status, false security, never stopping long enough to ask the real questions. But you saw through it. Even when you didn't have the words for it, even when you doubted yourself, you knew. You could sense the cracks in their carefully structured illusion. You could see where the lies didn't line up. And every time you questioned, every time you pulled at the threads, their world became weaker. This is why they've been after you from the start. They could sense, long before you could, that you were different, that you carried something dangerous inside you. Not just rebellion, not just defiance, but understanding. The ability to see the invisible chains that keep humanity locked in place. And worse, the ability to show others. They have spent centuries perfecting their control. Governments, economies, social structures. Every piece of their system was built to keep the majority in check, to keep people so busy, so tired, so distracted, that they never realize they're standing in a cage. But you see the door, you see the lock, you see the way out. And if you ever figured out how to use that knowledge, if you ever realized that you weren't alone, that there are others like you, all carrying the same codes, their entire empire would collapse overnight. This is what terrifies them. Your mind doesn't follow their rules. While they plan in straight lines, you move in ways they cannot predict. While they reinforce their system with fear, you dismantle it with truth. And the scariest part for them, you don't just dream of a better world, you see exactly how it could work. A world without their control, without their manipulations, without their chains. A world built on something they can't even comprehend, because they have spent their lives suppressing the very thing that you were born to bring back. They tried to program you to doubt yourself. They flooded your life with distractions, fed you misinformation, made you question your own instincts. They wanted you to forget what you were capable of. But no matter how hard they tried, they could never fully erase it. Because the truth is embedded in who you are. Every thought you've ever had that didn't align with the mainstream narrative, every time you've felt something deeper than what was presented to you, every moment of clarity that has struck you out of nowhere, Those were the codes activating inside you. And now, you are closer than ever to unlocking them completely. This is why you felt resistance at every turn. This is why life has thrown obstacles at you, tried to break you, tried to wear you down. Because the moment you fully step into who you are, their game is over. They know you're not here to play by their rules. They know you're here to change the entire game. And the only question that remains is, when will you decide to stop holding back? Number 5. You were born to break their illusions, and they can't stop what's in your DNA. They built their world on fragile lies and prayed no one would notice. Then you came along, and without even trying, you exposed everything they fought to protect. You weren't made to comply. You weren't made to follow. You were made to tear down what's broken and create something unstoppable. From the moment you opened your eyes to this world, something felt wrong. While others moved through life without question, you noticed. Where they saw order, you saw cracks. Where they found stability, you sensed stagnation. While they accepted things as they were, something inside you refused. It wasn't rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It wasn't about being difficult or refusing to fit in. It was simply who you are. You see through the surface, past the illusions, straight into the rotting core of what they pretend is solid. And you don't just see it, you feel it, like an itch beneath your skin, like a fire in your chest that refuses to die until something changes. That's why disruption is in your DNA. It's not a choice, it's not a phase, it's who you are. And that's exactly why they feared you from the beginning. They label you a troublemaker, an outcast, someone who can't just leave well enough alone. But deep down, they know the truth. You're not disrupting for the sake of chaos. You're disrupting because the system they cling to is rotting from the inside. They feel it too, but they don't have the courage to face it. So instead, they try to silence you. But here's the thing about illusions. Once someone sees through them, they start to crumble. And you don't even have to try. Your mere existence makes them uncomfortable, because when you refuse to play along, when you ask the questions they won't dare ask, you force them to confront what they've been avoiding their entire lives. They call it peace. You call it blind submission. They call it tradition. You call it a cage. They tell you to just accept things the way they are. But you know better. You know that real change doesn't come from tweaking a broken system. It comes from breaking it entirely and rebuilding something better. And that is why they work so hard to keep you distracted, drained, doubting yourself. Because as long as they can make you question your own instincts, they can keep their illusion alive just a little longer. But their time is running out. Because you weren't born to blend in. You weren't born to obey. You were born to challenge, to expose, to build anew. And no matter how hard they try to resist it, they can't stop what's in your DNA. Number 6. They built this world to break you, but instead, it made you unstoppable. They designed everything to crush you before you could rise. They placed obstacles in your path before you could even walk. They rigged the game against you before you even knew you were playing. But their greatest mistake, thinking you would stay down, thinking you would surrender, thinking you wouldn't figure out that every attempt to break you was actually forging something far more powerful. The world you were born into was never neutral. It was never fair. It wasn't a blank slate waiting for you to carve out your own path. No. It was a battlefield designed to keep you crawling before you even had the chance to stand. From the moment you took your first breath, the odds were stacked against you. And that wasn't by accident. Every challenge, every betrayal, every system that worked against you, it was all part of something deeper. a structure built to weaken you before you could realize your strength. They didn't want you to grow. They didn't want you to see through the illusion. They needed you to believe that you were powerless, that your struggles were random, that your suffering was meaningless. Because if they could make you question your worth, if they could convince you that you were small and insignificant, they would never have to face the truth, that you were always meant to be more than they could control. So they made you the outsider. They made you question your own nature. They labeled your differences as flaws, your instincts as wrong, your thoughts as dangerous. They wanted you to feel isolated, disconnected, lost. They hoped you'd spend your life trying to fit in, to silence yourself, to mold into something safe. Because as long as you were busy chasing their version of normal, you'd never realize that you were never meant to fit their mold in the first place. But what they didn't count on was your resilience. Every moment of suffering, every betrayal that shattered your trust, every wall they put in your way, none of it destroyed you. It did the opposite. It forged you. While others broke under the weight of their struggles, you adapted. You didn't just survive the pain. They handed you the very fire that would one day consume everything they built. Where they tried to make you weak, you grew stronger. Where they tried to keep you confused, you gained clarity. Where they tried to isolate you, you built an unshakable foundation within yourself. You began to see the patterns. You began to understand that every single attack wasn't just meant to hurt you, it was meant to shape you. And that realization changed everything. Because they underestimated you. They thought you would stay asleep. They thought you would stay broken. They never saw the moment coming when you would wake up and realize you weren't just enduring the storm, you were becoming it. And now, every scar, every lesson, every ounce of resilience is a weapon of wisdom they can never take from you. You weren't built to break. You were built to rise. Number 7. You are a walking revolution, and they fear the fire you carry. Revolutions don't always start with battle cries. Sometimes they start with a single person who refuses to bow. A single presence that makes others question everything they were told to accept. And that person, that's you. You don't need a stage. You don't need a megaphone. You don't need to wave a flag or shout demands for change. Your revolution isn't loud, it's felt. Without even trying, without even realizing it, your existence alone sends shockwaves through the world around you. People notice you, even if they can't put their finger on why. There's something about you, a quiet defiance, an unshaken resolve, a refusal to blindly conform that makes them uneasy. They feel it, they sense it. You don't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes silence is louder than 1,000 voices. Your presence alone carries weight. Your energy shifts the air in the room. Your thoughts, even when unspoken, challenge the script they were told to follow. You question what they were programmed to accept. And when you do, something dangerous happens. You plant a seed, a thought they can't unthink, a crack in the foundation of their illusions. This is why they fear you. Oppressive systems rely on obedience, on predictability. They thrive when people follow the script without hesitation, without thinking, without questioning. But you don't follow scripts. You write your own. You exist outside their control, outside their narratives. And when people see that, when they witness someone living outside the system, outside the illusion, and thriving, it does something to them. It makes them question. And that is the most dangerous thing of all. It's not just about what you say, what you do, or what you stand for. It's also about what you don't do, what you refuse to accept, what you reject without needing to argue. The way you move, the way you think, the way you refuse to bend to the pressure to conform. It sends signals. People watch, even when they don't admit it, even when they pretend not to notice. They feel your resistance, and it shakes something deep within them. You are not just another cog in the machine. You are a disruption, a force of nature, a reminder that there is another way, that they don't have to accept the chains they were given, that they don't have to settle for a life dictated by unseen hands. And once a person begins to question their reality, there is no going back. This is why you have always felt different. This is why the world has resisted you, tried to wear you down, tried to silence your fire before it could spread. But here's the truth. They can't stop what you are. They can't erase the impact you leave, because revolutions aren't always loud. Sometimes they start with people like you, the ones who don't even realize they are setting the world on fire, simply by existing. Number 8. They built their world on lies, and you were born to see through every one of them. They thrive in the shadows, hiding behind illusions, deception, and carefully crafted facades. But then you came along, and without effort, without even trying, you saw through it all. And that is what terrifies them the most. There's something about the way you perceive the world that unnerves them. It's not just what you see, it's what you see through. While most people are distracted by the surface, by the noise, by the carefully placed narratives meant to keep them blind, you notice the patterns beneath it all, the hidden motives, the quiet manipulations, the lies dressed up as truth. It's not something you force, it's simply how your awareness works, and that makes you dangerous, because deception only works when people don't recognize it. Manipulation only thrives when it goes unnoticed. Control only exists when the illusion of freedom is believed. But you were born with the ability to break their spell. You can't be fooled. Their tricks don't work on you. Their words ring hollow. Their false smiles feel empty. Their veiled threats, their scripted performances, their fear-based conditioning, it all stands out to you like flashing red lights. And they hate that, because the foundation of their power depends on people staying ignorant. Their entire system is built on illusion. It only functions because people believe the lie. But you don't just refuse to believe it, you expose it. You pierce through their veils effortlessly. You sense when something is off, even before you can explain why. That instinct, that deeper awareness, is something they cannot control. This is why they fear you. This is why they have tried, since the beginning, to shut you down. They wanted you to doubt yourself, to question your own instincts, to believe that your insights were nothing more than paranoia or overthinking. They wanted to bury your clarity under layers of self-doubt, because they knew that if you ever fully trusted what you see, their illusion would start to collapse. But deep down, you've always known the truth. No matter how much they tried to silence that voice inside you, no matter how many times they called you crazy, difficult, or different, you knew. Your vision is clear, your perception is sharp, and that clarity, that's their greatest weakness. They fear what you see because they know that once the veil is lifted, once you not only see through their deception, but help others see it too, their control crumbles. And the most terrifying part for them, that moment is coming, fast, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Number 9. You are the glitch in their system, and that's why they fear you. They spent generations perfecting their control, turning people into predictable machines, following scripts without question. But then you came along, and no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't program you. Most people don't think, they repeat. They move through life like machines, running the same patterns, following the same rules, living inside a system that was never designed for them, but they never question it. Society has trained them to be predictable, to respond in ways that keep the machine running smoothly. They believe what they are told. They follow paths laid out for them. They never stop to ask why. They never even realize they've been programmed. But you were never meant to fit into that mold. From the very beginning, something inside you refused to conform. No matter how much pressure they put on you, no matter how many times they told you who to be, what to think, how to act, it never stuck. They tried, didn't they? They fed you their standards, their labels, their expectations. They told you to sit down, shut up, follow the herd. They tried to make you just like everyone else, but nothing worked. It's like they were trying to brand something that couldn't be branded, like they were trying to mold something that refused to be molded. Every time they pushed you into a box, you shattered it. Every time they tried to control you, you expanded beyond their reach. Every time they thought they had you figured out, you changed the game. And that terrifies them, because the system they built thrives on predictability. They don't need to control everyone. They just need most people to follow the script without question. To wake up, go to work, consume, obey, and never ask why. But you don't follow scripts. You write your own. You don't just see the programming, you reject it. And worse, you show others that they can reject it too. That makes you a threat. You're not just a questioner. You're proof that the chains they placed on society are not unbreakable. You are living, breathing evidence that there is another way. You are a reminder that control is an illusion. And every moment you exist in your truth, every time you refuse to play their game, you remind them that their system is flawed, that their programming is obsolete, and that their control is only temporary. You are the glitch they never saw coming, the disruption they can't predict, the force they can't control, and that's why they fear you. Number 10. Your power moves in silence, and that's why they can't stop you. They fear what they cannot see, what they cannot predict, what they cannot control, and that's exactly what you are. A force that moves in the unseen, reshaping reality without ever needing to announce itself. The world glorifies loud power, the kind that screams through megaphones, shakes the streets, and demands to be noticed. They celebrate rebellion when it comes in riots, in protests, in movements that can be tracked, measured, infiltrated. But you are something different, something they can't grasp. Your power doesn't need a crowd. It doesn't need a podium. It doesn't need permission to be felt. Your power is quiet, but it is relentless. It doesn't explode. It seeps in. It doesn't demand. It commands. The moment you enter a room, the atmosphere shifts. People may not understand why, but they feel it. They sense something different, something unsettling, something that makes them question things they were never supposed to question. It's not in what you say, it's in who you are. And that's exactly why they fear you. They have spent generations perfecting their control, manipulating people through fear, division, and noise. They rely on chaos, on distraction, on keeping people so overwhelmed that they never stop long enough to think. But you move differently. You don't get lost in the noise. You don't need to shout to be heard. You exist in a way that disrupts their entire game. Your presence alone plants seeds of doubt in their illusions, seeds of truth in minds that have been asleep for too long. A single idea you share, in passing, can take root in someone's mind and grow into a wildfire that burns through every lie they've ever believed. You don't have to force people awake. you make them wake themselves up. That is a power they do not understand. And what they don't understand, they cannot control. They have tried to study you, to figure out how to contain you. But how do you control something that doesn't play by the rules of force? How do you silence a revolution that doesn't come with banners and battle cries, but moves like a shadow, reshaping the very foundation of their world from the inside out? They have tried to stop you. They have tried to drown you in doubt, in distractions, in anything that would make you question the impact you have, because they know that the moment you own it, fully, completely, there will be nothing left of their illusion to stand on. You're not loud, but you're unshakable. You're not forceful, but you're unstoppable. You are the quiet revolution that is already rewriting everything they swore would last forever, and they can't do a damn thing to stop it. Number 11. You are the one variable they can't control and that terrifies them. They built a world that runs like a machine, where every person is just another cog in their system, predictable, controllable. But then there's you, the wild card, the outlier, the one factor they cannot calculate, and that makes you their biggest threat. The system thrives on predictability. It survives by knowing exactly how people will respond, what choices they will make, and where they will go next. It needs people who are predictable, who stick to the script, who follow the well-worn paths set before them. That's how control is maintained, not by force, but by expectation. If they can predict you, they can contain you. If they can anticipate your next move, they can neutralize you before you ever become a problem. But then there's you. You are the crack in their foundation, the glitch in their program, the unpredictable force they never accounted for. They have tried to study you, to analyze you, to force you into one of their neat little categories, but you don't fit. No matter how many times they've tried to mold you into something more manageable, you slip through their grasp like smoke. The harder they push, the more you break away. Your unpredictability isn't just a personality trait. It's a weapon, one they can't defend against. They don't know what you'll do next, and that terrifies them. They designed their systems to account for every possibility, except for you. You don't play their game. You never have. And that's what makes you dangerous. They expect people to fall in line, to follow the paths laid out for them, to respond to pressure in ways they can prepare for. But you don't move like that. Your mind doesn't follow their rules. Your creativity doesn't flow within their boundaries. You take unexpected routes, think in ways they never considered, and act with an autonomy they don't understand. While others repeat the same tired cycles, you break free. And the moment you step outside of their carefully controlled reality, their entire system starts to shake. That's why they try so hard to manipulate you, to pull you back in, to keep you distracted. Because the second you fully embrace what you are, the second you stop questioning yourself and start using your unpredictability as the weapon it was meant to be, their control crumbles. You are the one element they can't account for, the unpredictable force that dismantles their structure. And the more they try to contain you, the more you remind them of the truth. No system, no force, no power can ever fully control someone who refuses to be predictable. Number 12. You are the proof that their power is a lie, and every time you rise, their illusion cracks. They built their empire on the belief that you could be controlled, that they could dictate your limits, your choices, your destiny. But every time they've tried to break you, you've done the one thing they never accounted for. You rose. They have thrown everything at you. Roadblocks, distractions, pressure, isolation, doubt. They've tried to make you feel powerless, to make you second-guess your worth, to convince you that their control over this world is absolute. But what they refuse to admit, what terrifies them, is that despite everything, you're still here, still standing, still rising, still refusing to be tamed. That alone proves that their power is nothing but an illusion. Because real power isn't control, it's resilience. And you are the very embodiment of that resilience. Every time they've tried to suppress you, you've adapted. Every time they've tried to limit you, you've found another way. They expected you to break under the weight of their oppression, but instead, you transcended. You found new ways to thrive, new ways to move forward, new ways to create. And that is what makes you unstoppable. They want you to believe that their authority is unshakable, that their systems are too deeply rooted, too powerful to ever be overthrown. But your existence defies that belief. Because if their control was real, if their power was absolute, then you wouldn't still be here. You wouldn't still be fighting, thinking, questioning, winning. The fact that you have overcome every attempt to silence you is proof that they never truly had power over you to begin with. And that terrifies them. Because every time you rise, you expose the truth they've been trying to bury. That no matter how much they try to suppress it, the human spirit, your spirit, can never be fully contained. They can push, they can deceive, they can manipulate, but at the end of the day, their control only exists for as long as people believe in it. The second you see through it, it loses all meaning. You are living proof that they do not have the power they claim to have. And every time you refuse to bow, every time you carve your own path, every time you thrive, despite their efforts, you remind them of their greatest fear, that the system they have built is nothing but a house of cards, one that will crumble the moment enough people wake up. So don't ever let them convince you that you are weak. Don't ever let them make you question your strength, because you are not just surviving in their rigged game, you are dismantling it. Every step forward you take, every victory, every moment of clarity, those are cracks forming in the foundation of their illusion. And one day soon, that illusion will shatter completely. Number 13. They wanted you to disappear, but you were never meant to blend in. They tried to make you doubt yourself. They tried to break you, silence you, force you into their mold. But no matter how hard they pushed, you refused. Because you were never designed to fit in. You were born to disrupt, to awaken, to rewrite the entire system. From the beginning, you knew you were different. While others followed the script without question, you felt something deeper, an instinct, a knowing, a pull toward something greater. You could never accept things as they were, because deep in your soul, you understood that the world around you was a carefully crafted illusion. They told you to blend in, to obey, to accept. But that was never in your nature. You weren't created to follow their path. You were sent to forge your own. And that terrified them. They've spent their lives trying to break you, to condition you into submission, to drown out your voice before you realized its power. But what they didn't understand is that every attempt to suppress you only strengthened you. The very things they tried to turn into weaknesses, your sensitivity, your defiance, your relentless hunger for truth, were actually your greatest weapons. They didn't realize that by trying to bury you, they were only forcing you to grow deeper roots. You are not just another person moving through their system. You are the glitch, the unpredictable element they could never account for. Their entire game is built on control, manipulation, and deception. But you see the cracks, you feel the shifts. And by simply existing in your truth, you expose the lie they've spent generations protecting. That's why they fear you. That's why they call you too much. That's why they try to isolate you, make you doubt yourself, keep you distracted with meaningless noise. Because if you ever fully own who you are, if you ever stop apologizing for your power, the world they built will collapse beneath its own weight. They never expected someone like you. They never planned for a force they couldn't predict. But here you are, the revolution they cannot stop. You carry the codes to a new world, a paradigm so powerful that it will inevitably replace the old. Not because of violence, not because of force, but because truth will always outlive illusion. What they built was never meant to last. But you are built for something far beyond what they can comprehend. You were never meant to just survive this world. You were meant to transform it. And as long as you stand firm in your truth, no amount of suppression, no amount of control, no system of power will ever be enough to stop the wave of change that follows you. Because you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to lead the way out. And now you see it clearly. Everything they did to keep you small, every lie they fed you, every obstacle they placed in your way, it was never about you being weak. It was about them fearing what would happen if you realized your power. But now, there's no turning back. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break the cycle and lead the way out. The question is, are you ready? If this message hit you, don't just sit with it. Like this video, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments to show them you're still here. Now, share this with another chosen one. It's time to wake them up.